Does this feel familiar to you? You wake up in the morning and you're already feeling the anxiety buzzing in your chest. Before you even put your feet on the ground, you're already worried about what's waiting ahead for you during the day. Your body feels empty and not rested, even though you had a full night's sleep. If that feels familiar, then this video is for you. I will walk you through something that very rarely gets talked about, and that's a part of chronic stress accumulation and burnout that does not look like the collapse. It looks like still being fine on the outside, still working, still functioning, still getting your stuff done. But internally, you feel nothing. Before we go right in, let me walk you through the exact topics I'll discuss in this video. First of all, we will look at how this version of high-functioning accumulated chronic stress and burnout actually feels in your body, so you can identify whether that's something you're currently struggling with. We will look at what burnout really is, its definition, so you can understand what it means and what burnout truly is, and the diagnostic framework. We will talk about why there's this type of burnout that actually nobody sees and why it is so hard to actually carry that on your own. We will also have a look why so many things that you might have tried or that are common advice out there are not working for you because they are only approaching the productivity part of burnout. If you stay until the end, I'll show you a very simple nervous system based tool to help you start release accumulated chronic stress from your body and not just your mind. Let's dive right in. How does accumulated chronic stress, or what I often call high functioning burnout, actually feel and look like? Maybe you know this example. You've been working your butt off and the highly anticipated holidays are finally here. You get on a plane, you arrive at this hopefully beautiful location, but your brain is just not there yet. You keep thinking about work, about the handover that you half forgot, or all the emails that you didn't manage to tick off before leaving. You tell yourself, maybe I will be able to relax when I caught up on a bit of sleep, but somehow you don't manage to be present in your holidays. Or that might look like you arrive at home and suddenly you feel like a mask slips, and the exhaustion and the depletion and the feeling of emptiness actually arrives the moment you are alone. Quietness. This is something I observe with many of my clients that are describing years and years and years of accumulated chronic stress and tension. Often this gets accompanied by thoughts. This thought of like, okay, if I even can't enjoy that holiday that I've worked so hard for, what am I doing all this for at all? Or now that I've reached a certain level of success at my job that I've dreamed about before, why do I feel so depleted and empty inside? And those are not signs that anything is wrong with you. Let me get that straight. Those are signs that you have accumulated a lot of chronic stress over the years and that you might be experiencing high functioning burnout. So your body and your mind sending you clear signals, but it doesn't feel like the big burnout because you're still functioning. You're still fulfilling your roles, either as a manager, a mom, an entrepreneur. You are still functioning on the outside, but inside you feel this strong level of continuous depletion. Are all those symptoms and feelings really a sign of burnout? Let's have a quick look at the proper definition of burnout. And most of us picture burnout as this collapse, as not being able to function at all, as lying in bed, not wanting to get up or not having the energy to get up. The tricky part about it that the signs are very, very clear much, much earlier before that collapse, because burnout is defined by a high load of accumulated chronic stress. And the World Health Organization itself defines it as a syndrome from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It has mainly three dimensions: exhaustion, a mental distance, cynicism, which can almost feel like depression, and a feeling of reduced professional efficacy. You're not as functional as you used to be. And that is also adding additional load because you're asking yourself, like, why am I not as good or productive or efficient as I used to be. The World Health Organization defines it really as an occupational phenomenon, not a medical condition. The tricky part is, because we identify this final state of burnout as the main sign of it, we often overlook the way to it and how much we can actually do to prevent this collapse. Because the cruel part of this high functioning version of burnout or accumulated chronic stress is that it is not yet that visible. You have not yet reached that peak, or it's maybe hidden behind your functionality and only you can feel and see it. One main thing about burnout is that often it's the other person surrounding us that are giving us a hint and saying like, oh, I feel you've changed recently. Are you all right? But if that doesn't happen and we still keep showing up at work, putting on a smile, kind of getting through our tasks still well, or we have to continue functioning because we are parents and there is no other choice, the symptoms get buried and accumulated over a much longer time, which makes it later then also way more complex to recover from them. That's exactly what we're going to look at on this channel. How can we prevent reaching this peak of burnout, and how can we manage this chronic accumulated stress, not only through understanding and productivity hacks, but also through deep inner nervous system tools and through reframing the belief systems that are actually driving a lot of the stress that we are experiencing in our jobs, but also in our everyday life. Because nowadays, we don't only experience immense amounts of stress at work. That's usually one huge driver and part of it. But so many of us also deal with past stress from certain experiences we have lived through, or also private family stress. And if all those stresses come together, it gets so hard actually to not burn out. Because we're talking about stress and burnout, it's still important to differentiate those two. So stress is feeling like it is too much. It's more feeling like racing, urgency, activation. It's like the gas pedal being pressed, right, internally. It's still keeping you going. Burnout is then what happens when this stress accumulates across many different domains of our lives or across a very prolonged amount of time. Burnout is when all the resources that our stress response needs, our body needs, it needs energy, right, to activate and function and respond to stress. Burnout is what happens when that gets depleted constantly without being replenished. So burnout is what happens when you actually run for too long on a high stress level. Here's the reason why most of the advice that has been taught out there, how to manage your stress better, how to set better boundaries, how to set yourself up for better productivity, is not really a full solution for preventing chronic stress accumulation and burnout. It only looks at the productivity aspect and the management aspect of external stressors. If you're experiencing chronic stress and early burnout symptoms, you will know that those not only live outside in your work and in the work demands. Yes, those are stressors and reasons why your body is responding stressed, but the stress is actually felt internally. Chronic stress accumulation and burnout are highly internal experiences. Most of the advice out there is not looking at that level at all. So yes, we can do a lot by managing our stressors better, by enhancing our focus and our productivity, but those won't work if the nervous system is depleted. We need to look at chronic stress and burnout from a way more holistic lens. Yes, setting boundaries, productivity is important, and we will talk about those levels here as well. But what is way more important is to replenish the basis of your functioning, which is your nervous system. And on the third level, to look at the beliefs that are running your stress responses. And this can be beliefs like, oh, rest needs to be deserved. I haven't done enough yet. I'm only worthy if I'm successful or keep on producing. Here's what I want you to take away. Burnout is not a destination, it's a process. It often takes years and years of accumulation to arrive at this point of total depletion. And there is much you can do before you arrive there. And that's what we're going to discover on this channel together. Secondly, If you're experiencing those feelings that I described throughout this video, it's not your fault. Most of us have never learned how to actually manage chronic stress, how to manage this highly stressful world that demands so much of us, not only in the workplace, but also in our private lives. We learn to manage to be more productive, but we don't understand what is happening in our bodies when we experience stress and how we can support our bodies and minds to actually go through the stress cycles in sustainable ways and learn tools to support your nervous system to actually replenish the energy that the chronic stress response is driving and depleting you of. The third part is you are not broken. You can absolutely learn to handle your chronic stress better and to recover from this high functioning version of burnout. Let's do this final little exercise that I promised to you today so you can experience firsthand what it feels like to actually go into the body and support your body in stressful situations. Just take a moment to actually find a fully relaxed position. This tool is extremely simple but extremely effective. So what you can start doing is actually prolonging your exhales versus your inhales. It's a very simple but powerful breathing technique, which is easiest to practice by breathing in for 4 seconds and breathing out for 6 seconds. So in any moment during the day, during your life, you realize that there's actually an immense amount of stress hitting your system and you can feel the overwhelm climbing. This is a tool that you can always add to support your nervous system to shift into a more calmer, regulated state. Mini tool, mini practice. Here we go. 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out. One more time, 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out. One more time, 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out. Wonderful. Thanks for joining me in today's video. And if you found it helpful, please leave a like and a follow. We will continue to discover a lot more about accumulated chronic stress, about your nervous system, about how to actually recover and prevent burnout for yourself with very practical and easy everyday tools. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.